Hey Jeff, how's it going?
Not bad, not bad.
Good.
Just
Yeah.
holding the fort down. Getting old, man. Getting old.
Still look good.
I'm hanging in there. That's about it. Doing what you can do. Doing what I can do.
Right.
Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I guess a good thing would be to ask how you got started with bowling. What got you really
You know
interested
what? I was born in '56, so the late '50s, my mother bowled in a day ladies league, and I used to go with her to bowling in Mount Rainier, Maryland. I was about 3 or 4 years old, and after the ladies got done, they'd let us throw balls down the lane. You know, so I bowled as a 3 or 4 year old, just throwing practice balls after the ladies got done. But then in 1962 or three, one of the proprietors liked my mother and offered her a job at Fairlane's Prince George's bowling center that got built back in '62 or three. And she took the job as the day ladies activities director or whatever, day ladies leagues. And back in that day, the day business was super. And so she started working the bowling alley in '63. So by the time I was 7 years old, my second grade, I joined the youth league on Saturdays. And she used to take me to, she worked on Saturdays, and she'd take me bowling. So I bowled in the league, and I loved it, And it was a big 40-lane bowling center, and it was real, back in that day, it was really nice. And so anyway, I bowled the first year I was 7 years old. I carried 73 hours. I remember that. So anyway, I had 73, but I loved it and used to just, my mom running bowling lanes used to allow me to just throw and throw and throw. And I was a young kid full of energy, and I just bowled and bowled and bowled. And the next year I jumped, the second year I bowled and jumped to 87. And then I think it was another couple of years I was over 100, but anyway. So my mother ran a bowling alley though, and I think as when your parents work at a bowling center or own a bowling center, I think you really got the inroads to being good. And you look at Amy Bisson, you look at Perry Crescenzi back in the day. I'm probably forgetting a few others, but there's a few others where their parents ran the bowling alley and they're really good bowlers. So my mother ran a bowling alley, and so in the summertime I would go to work with her and just bowl all day. Go over to PG Plaza, maybe eat lunch over there, come back, bowl the rest of the day. Might bowl 15, 20 games or more in a day, and do it 3-4 days a week. I was a kid and I just loved to bowl, and again, full of energy. Anyway, I just loved the bowl. And PG Plaza was one of the premier bowling centers of that day, and they used to have the pros come there in big tournaments. So that's where I first saw like Jimmy Wolfensberger and Jimmy Deach, and as a kid, back then they used to people paid to come in and watch the pro tour, and you'd sit there and chase all the bowlers and get autographs and stuff. As little kids, we'd get autographs from the pros. Back in that day, I think you needed a 120 average to be a pro, but 120 wasn't a bad average in that day, before they souped the lane conditions up and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, and Jimmy Wolfensberger was from Hagerstown, and Bill Barrett was from Baltimore. Back in that day, the Pro Tours used to come bowl 2 six-game blocks, so they bowl 12 games to qualify. And Barrett and Wolfie were noted for their, back then the Pro Tour, you didn't have your own shirts that you got to buy yourself. You had a blue one for Saturday and a white one for Sunday if you made the cut. And Wolfie and Barrett though would both of them wore red socks. So as a kid, I had bought some red socks. Man, I was into it. Had to wear red socks, and it was really. I just thought that was really cool. I was a young kid, but I used to go across to PG Plaza and get Jimmy Wolfensberger some Lifesavers or something. He liked Lifesavers, and as a kid, that was a real joy to me. I thought that was cool. So anyway, but he was like, as a young guy, he was like my. I didn't know any of the local pros or anything else. Jimmy Wolfensberger was my first guy, first pro I looked up to, as a little boy, and because he had 6 stars on his shirt, and he was the man, he was the man.
Right.
Him and Bill Barrett. So, and then Jimmy Deach was always famous for his slogan, and back in the day, this couldn't have been more true. Tennis, he used to say, 10 is hard to beat. And really, you need a spare strike to beat 10, and back in that day, the pins didn't fall that well. So if you got 10, in other words, shoot your wood, because it counts, and it wasn't that easy to get a spare strike, So 10 was a good number, I mean, for somebody to beat you, they had to You know, they had to get the mark, you know.
Right.
So, and there was probably a lot more splits and things of that nature back in that day, and a lot less strikes. But, so anyway, the pros would come to PG Plaza for the Pro Tour. I remember as about an 8 or 9 year old, I think I was probably 8, saw Dave Volk win the Pro Tour at big left-handed Hall of Famer, the Maryland Hall of Fame, and in the Pro Tour Hall of Fame and whatnot. Dave Volk won. He was an old left-hander. He'd do some old curly curveball or something, but he was tough. He was tough. And back then, again, you didn't fire the ball to get a bunch of strikes. You know, he was just a dynamic spare shooter. And I saw Dave Volk win the Pro Tour when I was about 8 years old. And one time I saw Bookie Jenkins win a Pro Tour down at Marlow Heights. He beat Hal Sherbert. He was one of the good top pros from Annapolis. And back then, you didn't bowl up the ladder. You bowled 2 out of 3 in the finals. And Bookie broke the 5-8 or something and just crotched both of them with the ball and win the tour. You know, it was cool. That was cool. That was big stuff back then.
Wow.
So I saw, yeah, Bookie Jenkins win one, saw Dave Volk win one. I can't remember who else I saw win the Pro Tours at PG, because they used to come pretty much every year to PG Plaza. And then, like, before I got into it, when I was 17, when I was 16, I saw Rocco Calisi from Rhode Island. Rocco Calisi beat Dennis Kozlowski in the championship game at Prince George's Plaza. And Rocco was a little short guy, but he had a big heart when he threw a good ball. I mean, he was a good bowler. And he beat him. It looked like Dennis Kozlowski ran the ladder, and he bowled Rocco, was top seed, he bowled Rocco. And I think Dennis started out with like spare strike, and Rocco ended up shooting about 170 and just smoking him. And but he was anyway, he's a true gentleman, real nice guy. Rocco, I think he passed away, I think, recently.
Oh.
But I guess he would have been probably 80-some by now, because I'm in the 60s. I mean, yeah, time is moving on. But so anyway, we saw that. One time I saw they had back in the day, they used to have the U.S. Classic. And that was a 15-game event, and you bowled 3 5-game blocks. And it was at PG, at my mother's place, Prince George's Plaza. And this guy from the military shows up, bowling in house shoes, and if I'm not mistaken, he picked out a couple of house balls. And his name was Dick Frechette. He was from up in Massachusetts. This guy was like the cream of the crop. Anyway, he went walking away winning the tournament. And he's in the military, I think, in Norfolk. And he comes up, bowls this tournament, 15-game event, and just smokes everybody. And using house shoes, house ball, everybody's shaking their head. They couldn't believe it. But anyway, this guy was that good. When I was like 18 and 19, there used to be a lot more tournaments. And I had went to Rhode Island that year for like 4 different tournaments. Like there used to be one at Airway 32, which is a big 32-lane house right on the airport runway, basically. In Providence, or not even Providence, Warwick. And there was 4 different tournaments that year up in New England. And I'm not kidding you, Dick Frechette wins all 4 of them. He wins all 4 of them. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, this guy was that good. He was really that good. And also, when I made my first cut up north, it was in Wamisit Lanes in Massachusetts, about 20 or 30 miles from Fenway Park. It was a 30-lane house, 20 duck pins, and they fell like cinder blocks. And the other 10 lanes were candlepin. And so they only took 20 finalists in 5 divisions of 4. 4 guys in each division. And in my division is Dick Frechette. And I'm 18 years old. I beat him the first time I bowled him. I did beat him. I shot 140 or 140 something. But anyway, I beat him. And that may have been the only time I bowled him in head-to-head. So I might have had a 1-0 record against. I might have been undefeated against Dick Frechette. But he only bowled a couple more years, and then he just like quit. You know, I think he just quit. But he was really like. They talk about Peter Pierce up there, and they talk about Steve Iron. They talk about Sweet Labors from Connecticut. But Dick Frechette was like. He was probably in his day might have been more revered than Peter.
Wow.
And as the years went by, Peter Pierce got to be the top gun, and then nobody wanted no part of Peter. And then again, Connecticut was Sweet Labors and stuff like that. But over the years, I probably in the Pro Tours and all, I probably ran into all of them at one time or another. Bowled again, like say Tronsky, I bowled on lanes with Nick Tronsky. Bowled on the lanes somewhere with Harry Peters, who was a real noteworthy bowler from Connecticut. They had a tournament named after him also.
Hmm.
And so he had to be pretty good, you know, to get that recognition or that honor.
But
Anyway, I bowled as a youth. At 12 years old, when I was 12 years old, they used to have a youth tournament, the state championships. And you have to win out of your bowling alley, and then you go to the semifinals, which happened to that year be at Bowl America Westwood over in Bethesda, when they still had 34 duckpin lanes. So I'm 12 years old, I go over there, and they take the top 2 out of the 6 or 8 or 10 guys that were participating from different houses, because there used to be numerous duckpin houses. So I ended up making the top 2, myself and this kid from Indian Head Highway somewhere down at Redskin Lanes where Harrison Sanders used to bowl. Do you remember him?
yes.
Harrison Sanders used to bowl down there. And at Indian Head Lanes, way down in Charles County somewhere. It's just a little 12-lane house. But the kid was from there, so he come all the way to Bethesda, and him and I advanced to the state finals. And then we bowled the state finals. It was at Severna Park on Route 2, at Severna Park. And there might have been, you know, and you bowled 3 games, they had a lunch, and then you come back and bowl the second 3, you know, 6-game event. And so we got there, and by then, that was the second year. Wait a minute, that was second. The first, when I was 12, the finals was at Wheaton Triangle. So I was 12 years old, and I don't even remember what I bowled, but I had enough to win the state championships. So I had a trophy somewhere saying I was a Maryland state champion.
Wow.
You know, it was handicap and all, but I don't know, I might have been carrying maybe 110 or 12 by then or something.
Right.
But anyway, and then, anyway, so I had to win like 3 different areas to win that, you know, that was pretty neat to be state champion, you know, that was pretty cool back in the day. So then I'm 15, 3 years later, same tournament, do it again, and the second round that year was at West Bart Avenue again at Bethesda, out at Bowl America Westwood. So me and this guy from Indian Head Highway make the finals, and we go to Severna Park for the finals, state finals, a couple weeks later. And it gets down, and it's handicap, but by then I'm carrying over 120 average, so I'm bowling scratch. The handicap was from 120, so I'm bowling scratch. And, but I was, matter of fact, that year I carried like, 124 or 5 in the youth league at PG Plaza. And then the year before, they started the Maryland, the Prince George's County Boys Club Travel League. So I'm carrying 131, I carried in that league on Sundays, 131 average. And, you know, at the time, the top average in the country was 140. So I'm 15 years old carrying 131. So I'm bowling scratch in this tournament down in Severna Park for the state championship again, because I'm still a youth bowler. And going to the game 6, we're dead tie. So I'd already picked up whatever handicap was involved, I'd already picked it up. And then we bowled game 6 in the last game. And this is 1971, I bowled 9 mark 176. So anyway, again, consequently, I win the state championship again. And it shot like a 454 set for 3 games. That was a house record back then, you know, back in that day, that was a house record. But anyway, that was my youth bowling, and that was pretty neat. And then by the time I was 17 or 16, my birthday was in October, so I was a senior in high school, started at 16. And that year I went adult and bowled in the adult leagues at PG Plaza and the men's majors, running, you know, meet Hank Howard, Shorty Diver, and, you know, any of the top guns in that day. And so I ended up bowling, so I'm a senior in high school bowling Tuesday night at Capitol Plaza in a 5-man team, bowling at 9:30 at night. So I'm 2 nights a week, I'm out there 1 to 1:30 in the morning, gotta go to school, gotta get up at 7:30 or 8 to go to school. And I'm bowling the adult leagues at age 16 where I turned 17. So anyway, as I went through that year, I think I bowled the majors, I carried like 128 my first year in the adult leagues. And Kim Tucker had come out of that same Boys Club Travel League that I bowled in the year before. He carried 113. He bowled in that men's major also at PG Plaza. And my team came in second place. His team won the league. Kim Tucker carried 131. I'm not that way. Man, this guy, Fred Flintstone approaching, his feet are pitter pattering up there, and he also won another open tournament over Baltimore somewhere. I mean, he was like, really on his game back then, I guess. And but Kim Tucker carried 131 back 1973 and 4, where that was good. That was really a good average. There wasn't souped up conditions and whatnot. So anybody carrying 130 was doing something. So anyway, I just remember that. They won first place and we got second place, and there was no handicap or anything. It was scratch legs all back then, you know. So, but we got second place, and it was 20 team league, and it was the majors, you know. It was the Coca-Cola men's majors. That was the name of the league.
Wow.
Coca-Cola donated. Matter of fact, back then, this was 1973 and 4. Coca-Cola donated $500 to that league for high average, and that would be usually shorty giver or $500 though for high average. I mean, here we are, 45 years later. You probably get $100 for high average if you get anything. You know, $50 or $100. But anyway, they used to pay off the premier Top Gun. You know, and $500 for high average was a lot of money back then. You know.
Yes.
And and then I stayed in that league forever and ever. You know, for 20, 30 years or more until PG closed, till '95 or so. And we still, even as the league went on for years, Hank and Shorty had moved on and went over to bowl at White Oak, you know, on an early league at 7 o'clock versus bowling at 9:30. And, you know, even up until the 90s, the bowling hours were still full at nighttime, and we still had a lot of leagues bowling at 9:30, you know. It was, until they closed, they were still paying like $250 for high average. So I always stayed there to get the high average money once I got good enough, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I figured that was an extra bonus, you know. And we figured 94, 95, that's 25, 26 years ago, 25 years ago. $250 was still a little bit of money, you know. It's not as much today by any stretch, but anyway, I bowled at PG Plaza for all those years until they closed, and then on to College Park, and bowled a little bit at White Oak, and bowled at Wheaton Triangle, bowled at Glenmont, you know, and Fontana's. Wherever those Duckpinner lanes I bowled in, at some point, maybe not all in leagues, but at least in some event, you know. So, I mean, there were so many bowling centers, unreal. Breaks my heart to see so many of them closed, you know. But I guess less and less bowlers and people's time. Everybody's on their phones. Everybody's on their computer. Back in my day, I mean, when I was a young boy, there was 3 Duckpin TV shows on Channel 7 had lanes at the studio on Channel 7 at Connecticut Avenue, and there was no cable TV, there was no computers, there was no cell phones, there was no video game. I mean, the guys that were on TV in the 3 Duckpin shows, if you were on TV, these guys were like celebrities, you know. Celebrity stars. I mean, bowling was a big thing back in the day, you know, way back. And people bowled 3 and 4 and 5 nights a week, you know, just because that was activity and entertainment, and there wasn't so many other things pulling at your time and money. And so it was, I remember watching. Matter of fact, my mother worked for the bowling center, so she had the connections or whatever. We got tickets to go to the Channel 7 studio and watch the finals of the 30-game classic. And it's Dick Westlake and Jimmy Deach. And Jackie Deach already won the women's. Jimmy and Dick Westlake for the championship of the 30-game classic on television. We're in this little bleacher studio, you know, and Jimmy finished up at 149. Westlake needs a mark to win, and he leaves a 7-8. And I swear on television, he bounced the 8 onto the 7, wins the 30-game classic, and I mean, everybody was beside herself, you know, one while. But I was actually there, watched Dick Westlake bounce the 7-8 to beat Jimmy Deach. Jackie Deach put her head down in her hands, and it was, it was sad. The husband and wife didn't win it, I guess, you know, but.
Yeah.
But Jimmy Deach was the man for many, many years, I guess. So that first year, I finished the major leagues. I joined the pro tour at age 17. First one I bowled in was at Greenway East, which turned out to be a 68-lane Duckpin house. And that was the haven. That was the place where everybody hung and went to in Baltimore to bowl. That's where all the pot games were. People put the bowl money matches, bowl for money, and there was just bowling centers all over Baltimore. This is mid '70s, early '70s. So Greenway, it used to be 54 ducks and 14 tens. You walk in the front doors, and there'd be 40 across Duckpins, and then the counter would be right here. To the right of the counter, you'd have 14 more Duckpins on this side, so you'd have 54 Duckpins. And if you get left, you had the snack bar and pool room. And if you go up 2 or 3 steps, you go left, you had 14 10-pin lanes. But then a couple years later, they turned them into ducks, so they had 68 Duckpin lanes. And the last 14, they had souped them up maybe better than the other 54, and that's where Bill Swartz bowled 988 for 5. 988 for 5, Bill Swartz. He was crazy, but he wasn't liked by a lot of people. But he was He was just like the pot bowl and ran his mouth and he'd talk your ear off. You'd go bowling, and he always had to put his hand on you. Come on, Turk. He called me Turk. Come on, Turk. Anyway, I think he's passed away, but he was really a good bowler. And and Bill, talking about Bill Swartz, but 988 for 5, that's a big number. That's a big number. Some tournament. So anyway, that's still the record. I don't see that one ever getting beat, but unreal. So anyway, that was Greenway. So that was my first pro tour. So my second pro tour was at my mom's home, my home lanes, PG Plaza, where my mom worked. And I graduated from high school, and this tour was in June. She gave me the $50 it cost to bowl, and put me in the tour for the $50. And I was on the lanes with Walt Wilkerson. I don't know if he's still alive. You remember Walt Wilkerson?
I don't think I remember.
Yeah, he was a good bowler in the DC area, and he was ended up being a policeman and working on the vice squad and whatnot. But he was another one like the ball, pot bowl and gamble and stuff. But he was a good bowler. He was maybe in the top 20, but he wasn't in that crop probably with Hank and Shorty and stuff. But my first tour I bowled Peach Plaza, won lanes with Walt Wilkerson, an old guy named Mike Reeder, and I forgot who the other guy was, but it was 4 of us, and we bowled early in the morning. And then a friend of mine that I ended up working for on a construction job for years was from Hyattsville. He's a Hyattsville boy, grew up around the bowling alley. He come up and he kept score for me, and he just was a calming presence. I was 17-year-old kid, and he just talked to me and he kept scoring. He just seemed to keep me calm all day, and I shot like 14.54 for 10. It was back then. It was 10-game blocks, and the cut ended up being 14.27. I remember a lot of these details. And I shot 14.54 and qualified like 10th or 11th out of the 24 that made the cut. And back then, the first place was $2,000, and that was the highest first place they'd ever had in the Pro Tour at that time, $2,000. So anyway, I make the cut, and but back then the finals didn't start Sunday till like 1 o'clock or something, And so in Baltimore they had blue laws; they couldn't even start till 2 o'clock. You couldn't sell any beer, or, the laws used to be different. But anyway, it started at 1 o'clock on Sunday. And I used to always go to church as a kid. Parents always took me to church. So I went to church early and left after the first service that got done around 10:30 or 11 o'clock. So I get to the bowling alley. Back then it was pinball machines. So I'm there playing pinball, just trying to calm my nerves. I love to play pinball, Wasn't a video game guy, but I could play some pinballs. but anyway, so we started, we're getting our divisions on Sunday, and here we go. I'm bowling number 1 in the country, that had been number 1 in the country, Hank Howard, the first game. He's got 64 in the 6th, and I'm smoking him. I got about, I don't know, probably 90 in the 6th, or 90-some in the 6th. Anyway, he goes 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 19, 19 or something. He finishes with 142. And I had got like one more mark and butchered that and had 124 in the 9th. So I get up and finish. I need a mark of 9 to win the game. First game. I throw a strike, break 9, and just throw the third ball away. I didn't care. Yeah, I won the game, 143 to 142. So I'm 1-0. So the second game, I bowl former number 1 in Washington, Leroy Christian. He was really good. He was a great bowler. He threw little light balls back in that day. But anyway, Leroy Christian, I bowled him the second game. And I just smoked him, shoot 150. And this is pre-souped up days. So I bowled 43, and next game I shoot 159 against Leroy Christian and beat him by 30 pins or something. So I'm 2-0 with 302. Third game, I bowled number 1 in Baltimore, Bob Wilson. Bob Wilson, Baltimore. Get down to the 10th box. He rips the middle. I got 135 in the 9th. He rips the middle and ends up with 150. He was on a mark or something. He ripped 4 through the middle, or he ripped the middle out anyway. He opened. Maybe he left a 4-5. And he opened and shot 150. So I get up and bowl, and I got 135 in the 9th. I'm open. So I need a mark and 6 to win the game. I cut 4 through the middle. 17 years old. I got a house full of people there rooting for the young kid. Back then people used to come watch and stuff. A lot of people, and they had bleachers in the stand. Back then they put up bleachers and stuff all through the house. So I cut 4 through the middle, throw the second ball and shoot the right side and slide it clean as a whistle. Make 3 and 3. Make 3 and 3. 4 is spare. So I need 6 on to win. The count ball, I hit the side, but I caught it just right. Ended up getting a backdoor strike. Shoot 155. So I beat Bob Wilson 155 to 150. I'm 3-0. I done beat Hank Howard, number 1 in the country. Leroy Christian, number 1 in Washington, and won, a couple years prior. Bob Wilson, #1 in Baltimore, and so I'm 3 and then I bowled this other kid from Marlow Heights. He's a few years older than me. He might have been 21 or 2. Bush Lehman. I come out the 4th game, double, 9, spare, strike, spare. I got 108 in the 5th. 108 in the 5th, and I missed a single, so I got 118 in the 6th or something. This guy, he don't know he's beat. He marks out the last 6 frames and puts me on a mark. I break down and miss it. So I'm 3 and 1. I lose the game. I shoot 159. I lose 159 to 156, something like that. Yeah, I think I opened the last 5 and shot 156. And so I'm 3 and 1, and now I'm bowling. I'm 3 and 1, and Bush Lehman's 3 and 1, but I got pinfall by a mile, right? So the next game I'm bowling Tom Johnson, who was a good bowler from Baltimore, but not #1 kind of status, but he was a good bowler from Baltimore, Tom Johnson. And I was going along and I ended up where I had 106 in the 8th. He had 79 in the 7th and a spare in the 8th. So I'm up, 17 less a hit. He cuts a deuce. So I'm still at 15, but he makes it. He makes it. So he's got a mark in the 9th. So I'm 15 up, and he's already bowled the 9th, and he's got a mark. So I get up in the 9th and bowl the 9th and 10th. I throw a strike, and then get over on the L lane and hit the pocket, and leave 8, 9, 10, and they went bing, bing, bing in it for a doubleheader. So I'm 4 and 1, 763, and that was a really good score back in that day. And I'm top seeded. I'm top seeded with 4 and 1. Oh, this can. That's okay. So I'm 4 and 1 with 763, and top seed. And this other guy that just beat me with the 159, he wins his last game, and he's 4 and 1, so he's the wild card. But I'm top seeding. And then on the ladder, you got Shorty Dover. It bowls the wild card first, Butch Lehman. And then you got Charlie Guess, who's from Richmond, which is great. Then you got Jimmy Deach next seeded, 3rd seeded, for one of the other divisions. And 2nd seeded was Charlie Guess, who was just a bomber from Richmond. He used to hold the world record for the high game ever, 247. And Charlie Guess, and Dale Guess's father. You remember Dale Guess at all?
Yes.
His father, Charlie Guess, was a great bowler. And they're from Richmond. And then me, a top seed. So the first game, Shorty comes out just smoking, shoots about 180 something, and wipes out the wild card guy. He bowls Deach. Next game, Deach beats him. Then Deach beats Charlie Guess, and then I'm going to bowl Jimmy Deach for the finals. So I'm going to bowl Jimmy. And he I don't know, he had a bad game. I come out, strike double, crushed 8, left a 6-9, made it. And break 9 on that. I missed a 10 pin in the 4th frame, but I got 77 in the 4th. Deach has got like 1 mark. He got 40 some. Anyway, Deach ends up just shooting nothing the whole game. I got so after I had 77 in the 4th, I get a spare, and then I go 6 offside, get 9 out. So I got 102 in the 6th. Then I go single, 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 make them all. So I got 140, 102, 121, 140 in the 8th, and a spare in the 9th. Deach ends up with 104. And in the last frame, I go 3 offside, get $7 and shoot 160. But anyway, I beat Deach. My first win, I got 160 to 104. So my first 3 Pro Tour wins, Deach has 104. Second win I win 2 years later at the same place, at my mother's place. It was 2,500 that year, 1976. I bowled Jim Taylor from Frederick, and I beat him 119 to 115. So my first 2 wins, I got 104 and 115 shot at me. My 3rd wins in 78, I bowled at Fairlane Liberty in Baltimore. I bowled Wink Bartley, and I beat him 148 to 107. Oh. So the first 3 wins I got 104, 115, and 107 shot against me. So anyway, they paved the way for me to get a low-scoring win or whatever. Even though I shot 2 of the games, I shot decent. Against Wink, I had 48, I think. But anyway, against Jim Taylor, I had 119. He needed a mark, and he hit tight. Back then, you'd see the kind of stuff a lot more. He left a 2, 4, 6, 9, like double, 2 betters, pretty tough shot. So anyway, he missed the object pin on the 2nd ball. So anyway, so I was in the Pro Tour 17, then 19 won again, and 21 won again. Had some real good experiences, And I was all, whenever I was on lanes with people, I always rooted for the guys on my lanes, that's because. And all my bowling growing up was all team sport. You bowling teams, trying to win. You root for your teammates. You wasn't just selfish, just all about me. I'd root for the other guys and want to see them do well. And
What would you say is your toughest Pro Tour victory?
Toughest victory. You know, probably one at Todd Turcotte, this comes to mind. Probably one, and just a couple I've let slip through my fingers by my own demise, own fault, you know, by messing up. But I won one at Todd Turcotte's place at, what's the name of that place? Highland Bowl up in Cheshire, Connecticut. It's probably been, I don't know, well, 20 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, probably 20 years ago, probably. I'm bowling Steve DiStefano. He's like a mechanic at T-Bowl, or one of the bowling alleys, he's a mechanic. But he's a good bowler. His wife is, I think his wife was active in something, in bowling association or whatever. Anyway, he was a nice guy, Steve DiStefano. And I'm bowling in a championship game against him. And I don't know, I'm struggling, I got nothing. I got 17-6. And he is just leaving me in, he's just leaving me in the dust. And he ends up, he's a good 20-some up on me probably. I'm not sure how it went down, but anyway, the last 4 frames, I mark, I spare, strike, spare, no, strike, spare, count 9, and shoot 149. And he's got 137 in the 9th open. So I put him on a mark. And so I'd got 79 my last 4, you know, and made him mark. And he hit the side, left 136 in the 7-pin. And the second ball, he hit the 136, but he just basically tipped over the head pin. So the 7-pin never got in danger of falling. So I went at like 149 and 147. But that was a tough win. That was a good comeback. You know, I managed to one time pull one out by getting 4 marks on the end. 4 big marks. It made him mark and he didn't get it. And one of the worst losses ever was in Richmond at Willow Bowl. I'm bowling Jim McCain, and it was a little wacky how he even got involved, how he even got there. But I'm top seeded by a mile. I'd shot like 850 some on Sunday, and the next guy to me was 760 or something. Yeah, I didn't lap the field, and I'm top seeded. Anyway, Jim McCain works his way up the ladder, or whatever seed he was, and I bowled him for the title. And I jumped right out with a double. And my ball was just working good, and they were killing them, right? Start with a double. And I think I ripped the middle and got, 8-9 or whatever. 50-some to third. Anyway, he had open strike in the second. Third frame, he leaves a 5-7-10. Spare.
Oh.
I don't care how many times, you can shoot that 100 times, you're not going to make it. I don't think you're going to make it once. I mean, once a blue moon somebody makes that, but I don't care if you shoot it 100 times. I'm probably have no problem betting you're not going to make it at all. And maybe you make it once, but anyway, he makes a 5-7-10. So not only did he steal a couple extra pins on the count, he's on a strike, so he ends up with a spare on the strike, makes a 5-7-10, he strikes on it. So you got a strike, 5-7-10 spare, strike. Anyway, so the game's going back and forth, gets down, and I was doing so. I didn't really light him up after that double, but anyway, at last, I get up and bowl the 9th and 10th, and I get 2 marks, and I cut 5 through the middle on the last mark, but he's 10 to tie, marks and win. And he ends up, hits real tight, leaves 2 and 1, but the 1 falls over. So he got a 2-pinner. He just crotches both of them with a ball like nothing to it. So I lose, but forgot to make the 5-7-10 on a strike and put the strike on it. I don't know. I had trouble stomaching that one a little bit. You give him 5, you shake his hand, congratulate him, but I mean, to me that was a bad beat. That was a tough beat, but